One of the questions we get asked most often is about appraisals. What are they? Who does them? Who pays for them? What do they mean? What do they relate to the purchase of my property? It's kind of a complicated subject, so I'm going to try to make it as easy as possible to understand. Appraisal is a professional valuation of a property at a point in time. Sounds pretty easy, but that's basically what it is. Appraisals are done by professional appraisers who have to follow the USPAP, which is their code of ethics. It takes a long time to get to be an appraisal. You have to go to school, and then you have to practice 2,400 hours as an apprentice to a certified appraiser. That's important to know, that appraisers work very hard to get their certification. So who orders the appraisal? Well, the lender that you're using as a buyer will contact an appraisal management company and order the appraiser. Since the mortgage meltdown of 2008, lenders are not allowed to have any direct contact with the appraiser. This is to ensure that the appraisal and the lender are not working together to establish a value that they want. So the lender will never even meet the appraiser. So who pays for it? Well, the buyer pays for it as part of their lending process. An appraisal, depending on the property, can be anywhere from $450 up, depending on the type of property they're purchasing. So what does an appraiser do? Well, the appraiser will come to the property. They will only spend a short time, about 25 to 30 minutes, taking pictures of the property, and then they will measure your home from the perimeter, and they may measure the second floor as well to ensure that they have the correct size. The lion's share of the appraiser's work goes on back at his office. So what does he do? He'll pull county records, he'll pull comparable sales out of the MLS to determine houses that are similar to the property. So how does the appraiser include a property or not include a property? Well, it's much easier in a neighborhood where many houses are the same and some can be exactly the same. The appraiser can take a look at all of those similar homes and work to determine a value. Often though, you can have homes that are located in an area where there are no similar properties. In that case, the appraiser is going to have to look at a wider range. This often happens with farms or lakefront properties, etc. So the appraiser, after they pull together all their data, the first thing they're looking for is proximity to your property. The second is going to be the length of time when those other properties sold. They naturally prefer sales within a month, but will go up to 3 and sometimes 6, depending on what other comparable sales there are. Then they're going to be looking at size and features. The appraiser will take the comparable properties and make adjustments to them to bring them back in line with your property, and that's how they determine value. And it's called the sales comparison method. So then what happens? Well, the appraiser submits his appraisal to the lender. The lender will then send it to their underwriter to make sure they approve the appraisal, and then hopefully all is well. The property has appraised at least the value of the contract for the purchase of the sale of the house. So what about the seller? What do they get to know? The seller did not buy the appraisal. All the information they will get is that the property appraised at value. Well, there's still one more thing. What happens if the property doesn't appraise? What happens if you had a contract price of, $1 million and the property only appraises at $990,000. Love to say it never happens, but it does. It does, and it happens, I would say, 10 to 12% of the time. What happens then? Well, there's a couple of things that the buyer and seller can do. One is they can agree to meet somewhere in the middle where the buyer will pay a more than appraised value and the seller will accept a little less. Or the second is the seller can refute the appraisal. They can ask to have another appraisal done. I will tell you, it is very difficult to get a new appraised value because the appraisers work very hard to come in with an accurate value. The third is the seller does not have to sell their home. If they were not willing to negotiate any further or to accept the price at $990,000, they can simply cancel the contract and move on. However, I strongly advise that you talk with us and we sit down and figure out what is the best way to proceed so that everybody can walk away happy. That you're happy that you got your new home and that the seller is happy with the purchase price they received. Remember, we're always here to answer any questions about appraisals or anything that comes up in your home buying process.